Welcome to our latest episode of the Showbox Sires series, introducing our new bulls and our evolution of the Great Cow series. Today we're introducing a bull that Mike and I are quite excited about because of his potential for global impact. 744HO18212, Have It All Acetylene Royal Red. This bull is a bull that Mike and I have been quite excited about for some time, and he's finally getting ready to hit the market. So today, our guests for the Showbox podcast are Mike Duckett, of course, my partner in Showbox Sires. And then we've got special guests that we've called in from Australia, Glen Gordon from Gorbro, Holsteins in Australia. Glen, I know you've listened to a few of these podcasts. Welcome to you.
Thanks, Tim. Certainly a privilege and an honor to be invited here to discuss this exciting bull with yourself and Mike.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more, Glen, about our connection with you and what we're all doing together. But Mike and I were in Australia this winter, and we got to go to Gorbro Holsteins and look at your string at International Dairy Week. And we were very proud to call Gorbro our partners in this business. Mike, can you make a few comments about Gorbro and what you thought of the herd?
I've made 2 trips to Australia, and I did it back to back. Enjoyed my time in Australia, but this last year getting to visit Gorbro and a few other herds was quite a treat. And as we stood there and watched their cows walk down to the parlor, it's a long ways to Australia, but cow after cow, there's beautiful cows that are very uniformed, and the guys there are very excited about breeding good cows.
Well, and that's exactly why we asked Glen to be on about this bull. This is the kind of bull that, we sure think can impact many herds around the world, and Glen and his family are excited to use this bull. Glen, let's start with telling our listeners a little bit about Gorbro and your operation. Who's involved and a little about the herd.
Yeah, well, it's me and my brother Drew. We run the day-to-day operations of Gorbro. Mum and Dad are still involved. Dad still takes care of most of the finances for us, so that's certainly a big part that, he helps us out with that. Yeah, but we run around 1,600 head on around 1,000 acres. The milking platform today consists of 850 cows. We're doing about 40 litres of milk per cow per day on 2X. We're on track to do 10 million litres for the financial year. So I guess 2.5 years ago, we took the decision to build a freestall barn, so sand-bedded freestall barn. Prior to that, we used to milk around 600 cows and produce around 5.7 to 6 million litres per year. So there's been a significant increase to the business by moving to the sand-bedded freestall, and I guess you never look back since doing that. It's all climate control with sprinkler systems and fans, and the cows don't have to leave the concrete to get from the parlour to the barn. So, there's no mud, there's no competition for food, and there's no heat stress. So it's been a real game changer for us, to be honest. A passion for me and Drew is we want to be dairy farmers because we've got a passion for real good cows. There's easier ways to make money in the world, I'm sure, than getting up at 4 a.m. every day to milk cows. So if we're going to do it, we want to milk good cows. Yeah, that's been our background into trying to breed and be successful within the show ring within Australia. And I guess we've been Premier Breeder and Premier Exhibitor multiple times at both International Dairy Week and the Victorian Winter Fair. So that's something we're pretty proud of, and hopefully we've got a nice group of cows to take to our winter show that'll be here in a couple of weeks' time.
Is it that soon, Glen? You go to the winter show here in a couple of weeks?
Yeah. A couple of the workers turned up today and yesterday to start giving us a hand with the cows, and there's a couple there that still need breaking, but I guess it's Saturday next week that we sort of move in to set up, and July the 2nd's show day. So it's coming around pretty quick.
So Glen, you mentioned, I thought a significant comment here was the number of liters, millions of liters of milk you were making with 600 cows. You go another couple hundred cows and you almost have doubled your production with Cow Comfort. What made you make that decision? What drove you to change Cow Comfort?
In Australia, they've taken a lot of our water right off us, especially here in northern Victoria. And don't get me wrong, I'm like everyone else. I love seeing cows out on green grass. Like, you can't beat a cow. She's getting her exercise. She's got her head down. She's doing what she's designed to do. But here in northern Victoria, we have that for about 12 weeks of the year, where we can afford to grow great grass. The weather's nice. The cows, it's perfect for them. But then we come through our winter months and it gets a little wet and the cows are standing in the rain, or in Australia, from October until the middle of March, it gets pretty warm. So, and we don't have grass through the summer months like that. So the cows start to suffer a little from heat stress when they're outside. For 600 cows, you've got to have a lot of trees for shade for the cows to try and get out of that. And then you've got cows, I guess, standing up too long during the day because they can't be sitting under the trees because there's just not enough room. They'll get trampled. By going to the barn, I guess it just eliminates all those factors. And we have seen an increase of around 23% production per cow per day by just adding that cow comfort factor into the cows, just to their daily lives. It's quite an increase, to be honest.
Well, it's good for our listeners to hear. And Mike, you and I can speak to it. We were at Gorbro this January, and they were in the middle of as bad a heat stretch as I'd ever seen. Mike, it was about 103 the day we were there, and it was headed for a week of 110. Do you remember what the cows looked like from a stress standpoint?
Well, I can tell you this, that I felt a lot better standing in the barn with the cows than standing outside talking to you.
Yeah.
Because it was hot, and the cows, it was just another day for them. They were just going about their business and acted perfectly content, standing there eating, and then walked down to the parlor and came back as we were standing there talking, watching the cows go through. And it's pretty unbelievable that they can be that comfortable and when it's that hot, because I know when you were standing outside, it was not ideal. I would say cow comfort was a job well done when you did that, because they sure act happy.
And I guess we had plans when we built the barn that we thought we would let the cows out when on a nice day and we've got green grass. But when they went from 2.2 kilos of milk solids to 3 kilos of milk solids, we weren't opening that gate. Like, they're comfortable, they're happy, they're in routine. Like, it's, you open that gate and me fat percent had dropped through the floor. It's just, we couldn't do it, to be honest.
Well, and there's not enough gum trees on your property when it's 110 to keep those cows cool.
No,
right?
That's right.
Mike, we were lucky to get involved with Gorbro, and I've watched them for years, as you have. You judged them here recently at Dairy Week, and we've gotten to know them. Glen, we'll talk a little more about our partnership with Gorbro with Showbox, but tell our listeners what's ahead in February.
Yeah, so in February, it's pretty exciting. It's something we're very excited about. We're going to host a sale on farm. The sale's called the Influence of Champions Sale. It'll be held on the 12th of February. And within that sale, there'll be around 40 to 50 imported embryo heifer calves from Showbox Sires cows. So at the moment here, we've got 21 females already born, alive and healthy, with another 30 pregnancies to come in the middle of August here. With great dams of calves becomes a lot of stress on the poor old guys trying to get the calves out and keep them alive. So it's, with good cows comes pressure. Yeah, it's been something we've really enjoyed. And I guess to go through a few of those pedigrees we've got, there's 1 Lambda and 2 Jinx females, calves born on the ground, straight from Footloose herself. There's 2 Lambda daughters straight from Juby 16 that we're pretty excited about. There's Hoa P and Image calves straight from Lambda Julep. That's pretty exciting. And I must say, some of these Image calves we've got on the ground, they stand out in the calf pens. They're awfully good calves.
Well, we're pretty excited. Mike, when we decided to do this project, I'd like you to speak to, why we picked Gorbro and what we did. I mean, basically, we wanted to make one of the biggest events ever in Australia. And before you go, Mike, Glenn, the other thing, we are selling 40 to 50 Showbox calves, but then there'll be
Yes,
another 40 to 50 Gorbro, the best of
that's right.
Gorbro as well. One of
Yeah,
the,
yeah,
you know,
that's right. And I guess we want to make this a spectacle, as you say, Tim. Like I remember growing up as a kid, and the Rockwood Park sales, or some of these, the Avonlea Complete Dispersal. I wasn't such a kid when that happened, but they'll be calves. Oh, they'll be sales that I'll remember forever. Like they were incredible days. The amount of good cows, lot after lot, that come through the sale ring. We look at it and think this is our opportunity to have that piece of history. We could create history on that day with a lot of people that should never forget that sale. So we're going to swing from the rafters and sell a bunch of our best, and hopefully it's a great day all round.
I love the approach. And Mike, think about in your and my lifetime, going to a couple of Ernie's big sales or to the Waverly sale, or your sales that changed your life, Mike, as far as a kid looking at this. So I love what you're saying, Glenn, because this sale could do that. So Mike, speak to kind of what our vision is with Gorbro and what we're doing, and then we'll get to this bull.
I had the opportunity to judge International Dairy Week 2 years ago. And as you and I sit around and think of ways that we can market our cattle and stuff, we look for new platforms. And Glen, when I judged the show over there, he had junior champion and was banging right in there. He had the senior champion, and I had never really met Glen and his brother until after the show. And just the passion to breed good cows. And it's not easy showing cows in Australia at that time of year. It's hot, and the heifers don't always have a big hair and stuff, but these guys had that, and you could tell the passion to breed good cows was there. After I got home, you and I got the ball rolling and decided we'd approach them. And to have a great event, you got to have a great platform. And I think Gorbro is the ideal place for us to do it in Australia. Very excited to have a sale and looking forward to going back to Australia again this winter. And it'll be obvious when people get there that the kind of cows that Glen and his brother are trying to breed.
And Mike, you and I were talking about this. We know it's a long way to Australia. We've both done it many times now. Glenn, it's the same distance for you to come over, right, as it is for us to go to you?
It is. It's a long way. Only I sit down the back. You boys seem to sit up the front.
Yeah, I told you there'd be some lies told today. But Mike, for breeders in the United States or around the world, if you can get away and you've ever had any interest in going to Australia, certainly International Dairy Week is one of the premier events anywhere in the world we've ever been to for dairy cattle showing. But this event will be a spectacle, and you could run around Australia and see the greatest herds in Australia up near Glen and Gorbro. And it could be a great time to go to Australia, couldn't it, Glenn?
And it'll be 2 weeks after the show, so you can come out and watch Dairy Week and do some farm tours, or go to Queensland and see the beautiful beaches that Australia has to offer. It's the middle of summer, so the weather will be nice. You won't see any snow. We plan to make it a great event.
That leads us to our real topic, but we're glad to set the stage with just who these great partners are for us. Mike, let's tell the breeders and listeners of our podcast series about our next bull, 744HO18212 Royal Red.
Well, I think he's probably one of the most exciting bulls we've released up to this point, as far as bulls that we feel that can be game changers in the breed. Bull that, when you look at his pedigree, top and bottom, on the top side with acetylene, a bull that the daughters are calving in now. People love them. They've got lots of width and strength and all the things you want. But having the Asia family from Lucky, probably a family that's known around the globe. And then when you go to the bottom side, being from Ranger 1133, probably one of the most prominent daughters of Doc. And then with Doc in there, we always said to him, can one cow change the breed? She's sure going to give it a go, because between the sons and grandsons and her daughters, she sure is spreading good genetics around the world. And I think when you get a top side of the pedigree and the bottom side of pedigree with famous great cows that have bred true for years and years, I don't know how you can go wrong.
Well, and you say, can one cow change the breed? Two things, Mike. One, you and I dreamt of making a Red Bull out of this cow, and obviously Dax has been one of our most popular bulls, the Heat Wave out of her. People love them. People have used them as mating sires, all that. But throwing acetylene in gives you just a little different angle, doesn't it?
It'll probably be to complement the Asia's with Doc's blood. Doc brings extreme milk to everything she makes. You sidekick on her, and she still has a sun-like image that has milk. And to bring that to the Asia's family, I think it's just a match made in heaven right there.
Well, Glen, last fall you were here and you spent a lot of time with us at our display at World Dairy Expo, and then we spent an evening at Duckett Holsteins together. You saw 1133. Tell our listeners what you thought of the cow.
Yeah, well, I was lucky enough to visit Duckett Holsteins after Madison last year, and 1133 was one of the first cows we walked into the barn and saw, and to me, she's just what we want our 2-year-olds to look like. Back here, we're a little conscious. We don't want to lose the shape of our cows, especially going into a barn and being on a lot more TMR or total mixed ration. That we talk about the footloose shape. We want cows to have that big open frame and that turn of rib off their vertebrae. And 1133 certainly had that. Like, she's so open of her rib. She's so wide of her rump, and with just an incredible udder. Like, she's so high and wide through her udder. She tracks on a great set of feet and legs. So it's pretty exciting to see an acetylene son come from this cow, to be honest.
Mating is nice. The cow has got a big, big future. Mike, you spent the day, or your crew spent the day, taking new pictures of 1133. Tell our listeners what another baby has done for this cow.
Well, as Glenn said, you want your 2-year-olds to look like nice young cows that are going to develop. Well, she's fresh again, her second time, and she has developed tremendously. So much longer now than when you would have seen her, Glenn. She's dropped even more rib, and her udder is as high and wide in the rear, and all that venation on it. But when you get behind her, when you look at her and see that spring of rib and the depth of her rib, and then her legs could be one of the best things. And for the red breed right now, I think that could be one of the big benefits of her. She tracks perfectly straight on perfect feet and legs, and a cow that is going to be a great complement for the red breed right now.
And Glenn, Mike talks about this cow's width, and you reference the width, but interestingly, Mike and I talk a lot about rump structure and getting the width in the rump so they can walk right. Would you agree that that's a critical piece of what you look for in breeding cattle?
Most certainly. Out here, we're big on the chest width and then rump width. It's big on our criteria. We want open rib, dairy form, but also chest and rump width. If your rump's narrow, your rear udder's going to be narrow. So we're very big on that in particular.
And Mike, of all of 87, 84's daughters, and I just saw the pictures you snapped today while they were working with her, she may look as much from the rear end like the old cow as any of her daughters. Is that accurate?
It is, with maybe a little more venation on her udder. Like, it's the same shape kind of udder. And for this cow to carry her milk or her udder so high and wide, her second test is lactation, and we don't feed a hot TMR or nothing. She had 120 pounds with a 4-1 and a 3-1. Lots of milk from a beautiful udder. You just can't ask for much more.
Well, it's a long ways to October, but right now the plan is to maybe have her standing in the middle of our string at World Dairy Expo, right, Mike?
That would be the plan.
We might as well tell the world. I think, what if we had Glen Gordon bring his white clothes and walk around backwards with that cow in the ring? Would that be kind of interesting?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get in the cooler and falls down out there, we'll be good.
It's kind of like you let me show Juby 16 last year, and everybody said there's no way anybody can screw it up. I think 1133 is like Juby. She's so good, even Glen can't mess that up.
Easy. Let's not go too hard here. I've been in that cooler before. It's pretty good.
But in all seriousness, we really do hope the cow can be there because she is so impactful. We think this cow can really change the red business. You think about breeding cows all the time. That's how you have a great herd. Great breeders think about the matings, right? You don't just go and blanket use a bull. You cross cows the right way. So how should our breeders be thinking about using this bull? What kind of cows can he be used on?
Well, I guess just to start with, I guess what I'm a little excited about is when I look at this bull's proof, and as Mike's just discussed, the bull's very much like the way I view the mother. You look, he's high for milk, so he's a red bull that's going to inject a bit of milk, which comes from the dock, as Mike says. The dam finished her first lactation with a 4.6% fat, and this bull is plus 36 kilos and plus for percentage for fat. So that's very promising for me. He's only 1.73 for stature, so he ain't going to make him too big. He's beautiful and open at +2 for dairy form. And he's got that rump width that we want too. So, and he's rump down, so that certainly helps. Then the way he tracks, like the rear views at +2.52. Well, as Mike said, this cow's that's nearly her best feature in terms of her leg set. So for me, I think he's certainly going to be a real asset to the red breed. He's going to bring the stature down, so he'll cross well on bulls like Altitude and Warrior. He's going to add a bit of width, so that'll certainly help the Hulu daughters out that we see. He's going to help all those with the feet and leg structure that he has. And let's be honest, anyone that milks red cows, we could use a little more milk in the vat from them. So this bull's certainly going to help there. And then even on the black and whites, well, I think he'd work quite nice on the sidekick and the Lambda kind of bloodlines here for us as well.
Great advice and great comments. I think those are things. But Mike, I want to go back to something Glen talked about. You and I've kind of joked and said we wish this bull wasn't red, because I hope people that are just trying to breed red cows don't use him. You know, we talk a lot in the States about crisscrossing black and red to make the greatest red cows. And I think, Mike, over history, great red bloodlines have got an infusion of black in there where you give up the red hair coat and you get the red gene, and then you go back to the red hair coat, generation in, generation out. You think this is a bull that ought to be used in the black population, Mike? And Glenn referenced it a little bit.
He's a bull that will work well, like on the lambdas and the sidekick. You know, you think about great red cows, Apple. Well, Apple's mother was black, and probably DRA in August, and them, it was mostly black until you get to Apple, and it produced one of the best red cows that's ever influenced the breed. The red hair is just a bonus. Use the bull to breed good cows, but the red hair is just going to be your bonus.
I think that, Glenn, I think that's a valuable comment. I'm sure you'd see it the same way, that you've got to cross the red and the black together to get the best, right? Because the population of black is so much more powerful.
100%. And that's the way we've seen the red breed come so far so quickly, is by putting that injection of milk and the other qualities of the black and white bulls through them to get them on the equal par that we see them on today.
You know, Mike, I just got through 4 days of meetings here at the ranch in Montana with the Select Sires board of directors, and you'll be pleased to know almost every one of them talked about their Has-It-All daughters, whether they were in Texas milking 1,000 cows, or they're in California, or they're in South Dakota. They all love them. Everybody in our meetings said, can you imagine what Doc can do with a little bit different blood thrown on her? And we talk about the Dropbox son, Hellion, the Sidekick son, Image, how high they are for milk. And I talked to the group about, I've said it in many of these podcasts, Doc is the most prolific transmitter of milk production I've ever seen, you know, in this business in 35 years of studying this. Mike, talk about how important that is. You think the traits of Doc and how true they breed.
The Has-It-Alls that we have here, they resemble Doc. And I think the great cows that do have a big influence on the breed, you can see that cow and their granddaughters. And the Has-It-Alls, they look just like Doc. 1133 looks just like Doc. You can tell that cow's going to breed to the next generation just by looking at them. You don't have to be told that, well, it's a Doc. She's doing it and doing it everywhere, whether it be Switzerland or Pennsylvania or here in Wisconsin or in Australia. Pretty much conquers any environment, and they milk. They have extreme type. They're just good cows.
And Glenn, you referenced it, and I just want to hit it one more time about your population of red cows in Australia. and how influential a bull like this. We could all use more milk in the vat from our red cows, right? And
Yep.
talk a little about that and the bone and the what those cows need.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt with especially the red and white breed in Australia, we could use a little bit more juice. Unstoppable's a bull that did an incredible job out here. One thing to be critical of the Unstoppables, they were a little tight in their frame. They never were quite as open of their rib as they probably needed to be. I think the Ranger cow, she's going to add that, and this bull will certainly add that as well, coming through her. So we want to drop the stature in our red cows a little bit with so much warrior and altitude sort of blood that this bull will certainly help do that. He's going to add width. He's going to improve the leg structure on the cows. So just when we're injecting milk, I can't see how we're going to go wrong with a bull like this, to be honest. He's got width, he's low stature, he's got good udders, and they're going to give a lot of milk. So he's going to be great for the breed.
To finish that angle, Mike, one of the great things about this cow, she is so milky, but her udder clearance from the ground is one of the best traits about this cow, Mike. All of her capacity of udder comes from length and width, not depth, right?
Yeah. When you look at her, you wonder where she's going to put 60 pounds of milk, because she carries her milk so high and so wide, and she's so youthful looking, which to me, that's not a problem. That's a bonus, because she's going to live to be a good old cow. But I think as she ages, and it's only going to get better, and I'm pretty excited. I think she will be a high-scoring cow someday.
We talk about cows that are going to get to see 3 classifiers at once. A committee cow. And I don't think there's any question if things go like we want with this cow and she stays healthy, she'll be one of those cows. Mike, can you tell our listeners we've had to do something a little different with this bull because of our anticipated popularity about what's going to be available semen-wise from him?
So probably for the last 6 months, my phone, your phone, and the guys at Select's been ringing. When's Royal Red going to be out? And so we've made the decision that we're just going to make some inventory of sex semen and make the conventional stuff a bit later, because the demand for sex semen is high. And we want to be able to offer him to people around the world as soon as possible. So to keep that sex semen available, we're trying to get some inventory to where there'll be enough to go around.
He'll be available starting immediately from your Worldwide Sires or Select Sires distributor, but you will not be able to get conventional semen for a while because we've had him on the sorting machine, just because the international demand for this, Dax, his brother, has not been able to keep up, and this bull's not going to be able to keep up either. Because, Mike, how many calls do we get a week with people telling us about acetylines and how good they're calving in? It's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen.
The people are very satisfied with the acetylines that are calving in. They're great uddered, good dairy cows. We sold one in the sale that we had there in May that sold really well, went to Minnesota, and she's actually at the show this week. If that's any indication of what all of them are going to be. I mean, I've been seeing some just fresh pictures of some in Pennsylvania and Illinois, tremendous young cows. And acetylene wasn't the greatest semen producer, and this bull it looks like that's going to be no problem with this guy, because he's worked well on IVF and he's worked good on breeding so far.
Well, in Glen, you've got a pretty nice acetylene heifer that Julie led at International Dairy Week and led her into the winner's circle of the red and white show. What's the story with that heifer? Tell us a little about that acetylene.
She's line bred, to be honest. She's an acetylene, comes straight through the Lucky Asia line herself. So she's a beautiful heifer. We're just gearing her up here at the moment to go to our winter show in a couple of weeks' time. But yeah, we're really excited about her. Yeah, as you said, Julie led her in the black and white show, where she won a class and then went on to be reserve junior champion of the black and white show at International Dairy Week. So she's the best heifer we had at that time. So she's a beautiful heifer, and we're really excited about her. So hopefully that Royal Red's going to leave him just as nice as her, and we'll get a little bit more milk through the Royal Red line as well.
Well, Glenn, it's been great having you on and introducing the world to you. The people that haven't met you yet, they surely know the name, and the Gorbro influence around the world will be felt for decades. You and Drew, and certainly your dad, you're passionate about the business, and Mike and I are just honored and thrilled to have you as our partners. When will our listeners get to see the face behind this voice? I'm sure they're wanting to come shake your hand.
The tickets are booked. As I said before, that they're down the back end, they're not up the front. But I'll be at Madison in October again this year, and you can probably find me by that cooler in the Showbox string, I would have thought. So, yeah, by all means, come around and introduce yourself, and I'd love to have a chat and, yeah, meet all you guys.
Well, thanks, and we really do want to invite you to come meet Glenn at World Dairy Expo. He will be with the Showbox string, helping Mike and I, and meeting people. The global impact that we think this breeding establishment can have can be second to none. So, Glenn, thank you for being on. We look forward to seeing you. Good luck at your Royal show here in a couple weeks. If it wasn't so far, Mike and I'd come help you again. It'd be nice to come down and do a show where it wasn't 100 degrees, but I think you're going to have to, Mike, he's going to have to do this without us.
I'm going to save up for this winter when the snow's blowing here. I'll come then.
Mike, to wrap up for our listeners, you and I, the day we agreed to put Doc in the sale, we dreamt of making bulls that could change the business. And I know it sounds clichéic, but we've said so many times, Doc can change the world. And we've really thought her impact on the red business could be second to none.
You know, it was a hard decision for us to ever say that we would sell part of Doc, because she meant so much to us, and we wanted to have an exciting event just like Glen is wanting to have in Australia, and it's going to be, because we're going to make it a great event. And for us to make it a great event here, we had to put Doc in, and we stayed involved with her because we believed in her. She's going to be the cow that probably influences, and with bulls like Royal Red, she's going to touch the reds, she's going to touch the blacks, and her impact's not just going to be in the U.S., it's going to be around the world, because I get pictures every day of Has-It-Alls, and I feel that with Hinge being a grandson, probably two of the most exciting bulls going in the blacks. And I feel Royal could be one of the most exciting red bulls to ever be out there. Forget he's red. Just use the bull, because he's going to help you.
One more little tidbit for our listeners, Mike. You sent me a picture of a pretty nice looking bred heifer that's going to calve as a milking yearling. It's a big black wide butted heifer with a red ear tag. Tell our listeners what you've got coming here in a couple weeks.
We ended up cloning Doc, and there's a clone due in a couple of weeks here. And I just sent Tim a snapshot of a beautiful bred heifer with her head turned around, and there's that floppy tag. It says 8784, and she looks perfect underneath, and she looks like a picture of Doc before she calved as a 2-year-old. We're crazy excited to get her calved in. We'll see how this unfolds. It would be fun to have her take Doc's spot. My kids were just getting involved a bit with going out and feeding the cows and stuff, and Doc was probably, out of all the cows we've ever had here, she's the most special cow we've ever had. As we named it, Has-It-All, she really had it all. So I've got a lot of confidence in her and her sons to do exactly what we hoped them to.
You know, and one of the darkest days we've had was the day that Doc died during World Dairy Expo a few years ago as partners in the cow world. And wouldn't it be fun to bring her clone back as a milking yearling and stand in our string? That would, the day we decided to clone her, we really did it, Mike, a lot for your kids, because Chloe and Logan loved the cow, and they were pretty busted up that the cow died. There's a big gravestone in front of your barn with Doc's name on it. Can you imagine what this would do for the business if we brought in the new Doc?
It would be pretty exciting.
Well, Glenn, that's your little tidbit to make sure you get over here. And again, you can help run the bucket behind her like me.
There you go. You've kept that one a secret. I didn't know about that.
We've always got a surprise for him, don't we, Mike?
Yeah, you just wait. You just wait, Glenn. We're going to be full of surprises in February.
No, I bet.
Guys, thank you very much. Glenn, I know you're busy getting ready for the show and it's a busy time of the year for you, but I really wanted to introduce you to the world because our friendship and our partnership with you and Drew and your family is second to none for Mike and I. We talk a lot about management, genetics, and people in our podcast series, Glenn, and you've listened to many of them. And I
Yep.
think you're one of the guys in the world that Mike and I talk about it all the time. There's 5 or 6 guys in the world that get it. You get genetics, you get cow care, and you have the passion to make it great. And we are honored and want to tell the world about Gorbro Holsteins and your power and the great things you're doing. So we're very excited to have you as a partner, and we look forward to seeing you at Expo, and we look forward to our customers and our listeners ordering Royal Red 744HO18212. He'll be available from your worldwide Sires and select Sires distributors. I would say you want to get in the queue as quickly as possible because this bull is going to be quite high demand. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Evolution of the Great Cow from Showbox Sires and Dairy Business.